Welcome to the Freight Project Podcast, brought to you by Cerasis, a North American third-party logistics company providing shippers transportation management, technology, and solutions.
On today's The Freight Project Podcast episode, we welcome back Cerasis Development Manager, Jerel Byrd. We'll talk about the new final mile technology solutions Cerasis has recently rolled out, now available to all shippers who use the Cerasis TMS, the Cerasis Rater. On the episode, you'll hear more about the final mile technology solutions as Jerel answers the following questions. What was the impetus that caused Cerasis to go down the path to develop these final mile technology solutions? What are the features of the new final mile technology solutions within the Cerasis Rater? How will the new final mile technology solutions aid shippers in reaching their overall shipping goals? What final mile metrics will shippers be able to collect and analyze? What plans does Cerasis have to continue to build out final mile carrier options to give shippers the best choices for final mile shipments? And finally, we'll talk about the importance of getting underlying processes sound and in place to best implement and get an ROI from final mile technology solutions. We hope you enjoy this episode of the Freight Project Podcast. Well, hello, Jerel. It's great to have you back on the Freight Project Podcast. Now, I have you on today so we can have a discussion about final mile technology and the reasons more TMS providers like us here at Cerasis are embedding features within the TMS to seamlessly add on final mile options alongside other surface modes like LTL. Now, your team has really worked hard over the last half year or so on making our final mile feature work for freight shippers in the Cerasis Rater. So what was the impetus that caused us to go down that development path?
So it all stems from seeing what the industry is where the industry is going and what customers are asking for. So two hot topics out there are blockchain and final mile. Customers are not really asking for blockchain, but they are asking for final mile solutions. So based on all of that feedback, we chose to move forward and try to deliver a simple yet effective solution for final mile. And I think we delivered on that.
Well, good. Short and sweet. And I got to tell you, it looks like blockchain was the cool kid a year ago, but final mile and the reality of that versus the hype, although it's fun, of blockchain has definitely picked up. So it's great to see we're back in the real world in the shipping environment. So, okay. So now that we know why you guys went down that route, final mile is a real deal that shippers need and why we embedded that in our TMS. What are some of the features that you guys have added? And can you tell us a little bit about how it works?
So our initial project was geared toward customers that need white glove, room of choice, threshold type services. So we have a nationwide network of local providers, and then we marry those up with our LTL carriers to offer a low-cost option to customers. So we use a lot of system automation to remove the complexity that goes with doing a multi-carrier move. And the end result is the same as what we have in the Rater, just a simple, easy-to-use product that allows us to do local carrier delivery on a regular LTL move.
Yeah, and it's just so easy. I was updating our onboarding collateral to include this. And as a marketer, right, I'm sitting there going, dang, that's just a simple add-on feature. That's a pretty easy feature. I mean, there's nothing better than marketing to just say, hey, it works. It's not that complicated. Although, I don't have as many words maybe to use, but that's okay. I think shippers would rather have something that works than it be something that you can talk endlessly about. So very good. Okay. So they're, booking those final mile options right alongside their LTL, right in the Rater. How is it going to help them reach their goals? What are their goals for final mile?
So LTL carriers are starting to increase the price they charge for residential delivery. So if you look back 10 years or even 5 years, ordering a couch or a living room suite off the internet and having it delivered was unheard of. So today that's common. So as this has picked up, the LTL carriers have raised their price on residential and office space delivery. So what we did is we built an option that allows to use LTL carriers to deliver to the places that they like to deliver and then hand it over to a local carrier to do what they do best. So at the end of the day, we can lower the cost to our customers while also offering them a cost-effective nature of LTL. At the end of the day, everybody wins.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot of collaboration and putting some parts together. I can't imagine a shipper trying to, coordinate that without a system like a TMS, our Cerasis Rater. And I think one of the great features, a lot of people are using it more often, especially some of these enterprise shippers, are the great data points that we get out of the Rater, where they can, look at that. They can work with their team. They can go back to the carriers and say, hey, here's what we've seen. How can we work with you around this data to improve our service levels or our rates or whatever? And so what kind of final mile metrics do you think they'll have access to when they're booking final mile carriers through our TMS?
So from that standpoint, right, it's really no different for scheduling a final mile carrier than it is for an LTL carrier. So we just put a lot of automation in place to help facilitate both carriers getting the information that they need. And then, from a scheduling standpoint, once it happens in our system, then our in-transit team takes over to monitor all the shipments to ensure everything is running. From a reporting standpoint, we'll be able to help break out where their final mile piece helped them save money over an accessorial part of the LTL move, right? So we're seeing LTL carriers throw out $150, $200 residential delivery fees because they just don't want that freight anymore. They don't want the hassle of driving into a neighborhood. So we'll be able to separate that out and show them, here's how much you've saved by now doing this other carrier, but they also get the benefits of white glove threshold. So they get added services they wouldn't get through a normal LTL move.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of reminds me of, what Lud and Jerel told me early on, and Amy Cook, who's been here since the beginning, our carrier relations manager, and how they used to work really hard to build up the LTL carrier database. And I assume that they must be doing something similar with final mile today. So, are we looking to add more final mile carriers, broadening our database? And why is having that solid set of carriers to choose from a benefit to our shippers in general?
Right. So, we're absolutely going to be working on expanding carriers. So we have at least one carrier partner in all the major cities right now. And most larger cities, we have at least two, right? So delivering to the north side of Atlanta or to the south side of Atlanta is a lot different on transit time for the customers. So as we get more usage and more adoption from our customers, then we can leverage the volume that we have to bring more customers on board. So more carriers becomes more choices, more services, and the process kind of feeds on itself.
Okay. Now, this is good timing. I was on a podcast today with FreightWaves, and they were asking about TMS and marketing TMS in general. And one of the things that we discussed was there are so many different TMSs and types out there. And, one of the things I centered on, because there's a lot of options and a lot of features in so many TMSs, that shippers can get quite confused. And so I centered on saying we're really pretty specific. We help that surface transportation mode, but we really make sure that, we're working on finalizing all the way from inbound to outbound, and whether that needs to go e-commerce, but it still needs to have that LTL ability on a shopping cart, or now this new final mile feature. But from your perspective, with our TMS, it seems that freight shippers who want to manage all surface modes, all while responding to that, surge by OEMs and also wholesale distributors to go towards e-commerce. And of course, then meeting what customers expect that they've kind of experienced from, an Amazon, if you will, in the final mile, that really shippers are going to need great tools. But even with your focus as the head of development here at Cerasis, what would you say about those underlying processes that shippers have and what they should do in order to maximize the use of a TMS and some of these features that you guys have imbued within our Rater?
So from a TMS perspective, I feel you need to have one that manages the modes that are important to you. There's a lot of platforms out there that try to be all things to all people. And I think features get lost and they go underutilized. So in our system, we try to focus on our core competencies and make everything as simple as possible. This allows users to be more effectively consume all the features that we offer. And you see that because we have a high percentage of our customers who are also e-commerce customers. So they use our shopping cart plugins, but then they also log into the Rater and process all of their LTLs. So they get the best of both worlds in the e-commerce plugin, and they get the freight savings and the management of their transportation through our TMS.
Well, that's funny. I think you and I have talked about this for a number of years when you launched the e-commerce product for LTL freight. It was pretty revolutionary, actually, and I think pretty well ahead of the market. But are you feeling a little satisfied knowing that perhaps that e-commerce product might get more awareness thanks to your final mile product that just came out?
Yeah, I think we were probably too early to the market when we launched a lot of the e-commerce pieces, and we've seen it rapidly pick up. And I think you throw final mile in there, and it's going to explode, I feel.
Well, good. Well, we were ready. And, thanks to a lot of the projects that your team has worked on, you leading it there. And that's a pretty cool advantage to have our in-house development team there. So why do you think that has worked so well for us? And what projects maybe are you guys working on next that, your team will put together that shippers will get to enjoy in the future?
So having an in-house team allows us to respond faster to customer demands. So we have a lot of LTL knowledge on our team, and that leads to rapid changes in our system when we can find a problem or find a solution to a problem and put it into place pretty quick. It works well for us. We release features into our system every Thursday, so we have a pretty rapid release cycle. We can only do that based on the knowledge we have on our team. For new features that are coming, we have a lot of integration initiatives as we try to expand and interface in with more and more ERP systems. We already handle quite a few, but we're trying to, branch out into even more ERP systems. We also have a new initiative to do a new API system. So we've always had the SOAP APIs, and we have a lot of customers who have asked for RESTful APIs. So we're going to start releasing more and more RESTful APIs, and then also expand on the capabilities of our APIs. We're going to be focusing on APIs and ERPs over the next several months.
Yeah, I think when it comes to what's being talked about out there, final mile is definitely a big thing, and it's more of a tangible, real thing now versus blockchain, which is, something we keep an eye on, but, really isn't in place today. But it sounds like that next real thing that people are really focused on is integration and gaining that visibility. So it's really nice to see that as the next project that our shippers get to focus on. And, Jerel, our features of Final Mile, it works. It's nice and easy. And I think that's pretty evident that we're able to have a quick little episode here of the Freight Project podcast to talk about it. So thanks for, elucidating upon us your wisdom and information about our Final Mile project and coming back on the Freight Project podcast.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And for all our great listeners out there who tune in each week, we thank you for listening and your great support. If you want to get a demo of our Final Mile product, just go to Cerasis.com. You're probably on that website listening to this now. Click that contact button and get a demo of it. It's a pretty cool feature. I definitely urge you to check it out. And everyone listening in, have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.